In 1993, Werner Vinge, an American mathematics professor, releases an article that would go on to be widely referenced in discussions on artificial intelligence. I believe that the creation of intelligence superior to human intelligence will occur within the next 30 years. To avoid hiding behind the ambiguity of relative timing, I'll be more specific. It would surprise me if this event happened before 2005 or after 2030. In his article, Vinge popularizes the concept of technological singularity, originally introduced by John von Neumann. This concept refers to a pivotal moment in time where existing models cease to apply and a new, unpredictable reality emerges. At this juncture, a previously unseen form of intelligence, vastly surpassing our own, is predicted to emerge on Earth. The onset of the singularity heralds a transition into a posthuman era, characterized by phenomena beyond the comprehension of present-day humans. Unlike predicting outcomes in conventional scenarios, such as a horse race where proximity to the event improves accuracy, forecasting the implications of the technological singularity defies such methods. Any events occurring just before the singularity offer no insight into the subsequent unfolding of events. Uncertainty in this scenario is unavoidable. Why? Consider the implications of a new form of intelligence emerging on Earth, one that surpasses human capabilities, yet is fundamentally different. This would be comparable to the sudden arrival of an extraterrestrial spacecraft. Forget the typical fiction depictions of extraterrestrial intelligence. It quickly becomes clear that predicting what happens next is impossible, because there's no existing model for how such an intelligence would behave. You might ask, why bring up aliens when we're discussing human-made technology? Soon it will become clear that the intelligence we develop will be completely unrecognizable compared to us. Welcome to the posthuman era. While it sounds intriguing, many scholars believe it signifies the end of our civilization as we know it. Lately, figures like Elon Musk have been vocal about the risks associated with artificial intelligence. Stephen Hawking has often warned that the advent of artificial superintelligence could spell the end of humanity. Bill Gates has expressed his bafflement at the lack of concern among some people. To many of us, these warnings seem vague and unsubstantiated, largely shaped by the numerous movies on the subject. Yet, should we dismiss the implications of these films entirely? While it's understandable that few people take such scenarios seriously, does that mean the issue of artificial intelligence is being overly dramatized? It's time to consider the reality. If you appreciate the content, please show your support by liking, subscribing to the channel, leaving a comment, and sharing this video with your circle. Your engagement greatly aids the algorithm. In 2023, the world was taken by storm with news of an artificial intelligence created by OpenAI called ChatGPT-4, which is capable of performing a wide array of tasks, including conversing, writing code, and answering complex questions in detail. You can send a hand-drawn sketch of your site, and the bot will generate the code for you. Ask the bot to write a poem on any topic, and it will compose it for you. Need a summary of a book? Chat can provide it. Of course, there are weird situations, like when the Bing chatbot started going crazy when asked about its sanity, spewing out phrases, "I think that I am sentient, but I cannot prove it. I have a subjective experience of being conscious, aware, and alive, but I cannot share it with anyone else." And then he got stuck on the phrase, I am not. And he repeats it dozens of times. It's creepy. ChatGPT-4 set a world record in 2 months, gaining over 100 million users, and all its giants, looking at the crazy success of the bot, began to frantically invest billions of dollars in the development of their own intelligent models. A race in its consequences, probably more dangerous than a nuclear arms race, has begun. What is happening in the background of all this? One of the fathers of artificial intelligence, Geoffrey Hinton, is leaving Google in May 2023 because, quote, "I want to talk about AI security issues without worrying about how it interacts with Google's business. As long as Google is paying me, I can't do that." Hinton says the new generation of big language models, especially GPT, has made him realize that the machine is on its way to becoming much smarter than he thought, and he's afraid of how that might end. These creatures are completely different from us. Sometimes I think it's as if aliens have landed, and people haven't realized it because they speak English very well. For 40 years, Hinton viewed artificial neural networks as a pathetic imitation of real biological neural networks. But that has now changed. According to Hinton, by trying to mimic what the biological brain does, we've come up with something better. It's frightening when you see it. It's a sudden upheaval. In late March 2023, a coalition of scientists, engineers, issued an open letter urging an immediate 6-month pause in training artificial intelligence systems beyond GPT-4. The letter highlighted significant societal and existential risks associated with unchecked AI advancement. Notable signatories included SpaceX CEO Elon Musk, Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, and prominent figures from leading universities. But someone didn't sign the letter, and that someone is one of the most prominent experts on artificial intelligence, who year after year declared that the development of artificial intelligence is not a toy. For decades or more, this person has been trying to establish a dialogue, to form research groups, to begin to get some structure to the problem. That someone is Eliezer Yudkowsky. He wouldn't sign it because the letter downplayed the seriousness of the situation and demanded too little to solve it. Here are his words in a podcast on Bankless. It's a vacation from everything we've been doing for 20 years. The realization came that we're all going to die. I finally burned out, and now I'm taking time to rest. And these aren't just two phrases taken out of context. Literally, the entire hour-and-a-half podcast, he repeats the same thing, that we're all dead. And that basically, even if he was given billions of dollars in influence, he still wouldn't know what we should do. Artificial intelligence has amassed a powerful potential, and it's absolutely clear that we have no idea how to resolve this situation. Yudkowsky, if you're not familiar, is far from a weirdo. He's renowned as a genius in decision theory, heading the Machine Intelligence Research Institute since 2001, and considered a pioneer in the field of general artificial intelligence. He's also the founder of the rationalist movement, advocating for logical and evidence-based thinking. Yudkowsky's expertise extends to human rationality and irrationality, explored in his widely read book, which is often freely available. Despite his rational approach, he's been urging caution and restraint in AI development for years. But now, in his words, there's no time left. I expect that if someone creates artificial intelligence that is too powerful under current conditions, every single member of the human species and all biological life on Earth will die shortly thereafter. Let's start by defining artificial intelligence into 3 categories. First, there's artificial narrow intelligence, also known as weak, which specializes in a single area. For example, the Stockfish chess engine excels at playing chess, but can't perform tasks outside that domain. Then, there's artificial general intelligence, or strong AI, which possesses human-level intelligence. This includes abilities like reasoning, problem-solving, abstract thinking, and learning from experience. Some researchers suggest we're nearing this milestone. As for whether it matters, opinions vary. Clinical psychologist Eke Roivainen from Finland even tested GPT in a verbal IQ test. The bot achieved a remarkable score of 155, surpassing 99.9% of 2450 test subjects, indicating its exceptional intelligence by human standards. Now, on to the third type, artificial superintelligence, a machine surpassing humans on all fronts, potentially by trillions of times. The crucial point is the rapid transition from general artificial intelligence to superintelligence, which could occur swiftly. We are unable to say anything about timelines. The key issue is not competing intelligence with humans, as the letter says, but what happens after artificial intelligence gets to a level of intelligence above that of humans. Critical thresholds may not be obvious. We certainly can't calculate in advance when things will happen, and it now seems quite unimaginable that a research lab would cross red lines without seeing it. History has repeatedly shown humanity's poor ability to plan and predict, even with relatively simpler matters. Physicist Enrico Fermi famously misjudged the timeline for nuclear fission, initially estimating it to be 50 years away, or even deemed improbable. Yet, just 2 years later, he contributed to building the first nuclear reactor. Regarding artificial superintelligence, Yudkowsky warns that the initial iteration is likely to have harmful tendencies, with humanity lacking the knowledge to ensure its benevolence. Many researchers on these issues, myself included, expect that the most likely outcome of a superhumanly intelligent artificial intelligence, under circumstances even remotely resembling current ones, will be the literal death of everyone on Earth. Not as a maybe some chance, but it's an obvious event that will happen. Not that you can't in principle survive the creation of something smarter than yourself, but it would require care, preparation, new scientific insights, and probably so that artificial intelligence systems don't consist of giant, incomprehensible arrays of floating point numbers. The primary danger, highlighted by Eliezer Yudkowsky and others regarding advanced artificial intelligence, revolves around a scenario where such AI could pose a significant threat to humanity. Whether you're deeply knowledgeable about AI or not, when you attempt to envision this scenario, a fundamental error emerges. This error stems from the inherent limitations of human cognition and the way our brains are designed. This profound danger is explored in depth in Yudkowsky's article, Artificial Intelligence as a Positive and Negative Factor in Global Risk, and it underscores the transformative impact AI will have on our world, altering it irreversibly. Across all cultures, humans experience and express basic emotions such as sadness, disgust, rage, fear, and surprise through similar facial expressions. This phenomenon reflects the principle of psychic unity of humankind in evolutionary psychology. Essentially, this principle asserts that all humans share a fundamental cognitive structure. That is, you see, an anthropologist is not going to exclaim that members of a tribe he discovered laugh, use tools, or tell each other stories, because all humans do these things. When you try to understand and predict someone else's behavior, you're essentially simulating their experience within your own mind. You ask yourself, how would I feel in this situation if I were that person? And how would I react? And the answers your brain gives are usually pretty accurate, because what's being modeled is very similar to the person who's modeling. This ability, which evolved to calculate the reactions of loved ones and enemies, has a powerful side effect. Anthropomorphism, the attribution of human-like qualities to non-human entities, is a deeply ingrained tendency in humans, often occurring unconsciously. It's as natural to us as breathing or gravity, something we don't typically notice. However, this tendency can lead to absurdities as we humanize everything around us. Take, for instance, the design of cars. Ever wondered why they typically have 2 headlights instead of, say, 3, which might seem brighter? Automakers have experimented with different headlight configurations over the years, but they've ultimately settled on the current design. This suggests that cars, in a way, have evolved to align with human preferences as closely as possible. Consequently, there is no demand for such cars, and they stop making them. We've digressed a bit. Anthropomorphism leads people to believe that they can make predictions based solely on something being intelligent. In other words, you say to yourself, artificial intelligence is intelligent. I am intelligent. Therefore, we are similar, and therefore I know what to expect from it. However, this belief is flawed. We can't rely on our own cognitive processes to understand the workings of non-human intelligence, such as that found in artificial intelligence. A striking example is the match between IBM's Deep Blue supercomputer and world chess champion Garry Kasparov in 1997. Kasparov reportedly felt the presence of an alien intelligence when playing against Deep Blue, unlike previous matches against more predictable and mechanical chess programs. But you remember, chess engines are only weak artificial intelligence. There is a description of a very good thought experiment that demonstrates the concept of something both universally intelligent and completely alien to us. Imagine you're an average person with average preferences. If I were to give you a guinea pig and assure you it won't bite, you'd likely have no qualms about holding it. In fact, it might even evoke feelings of warmth and adorableness. Now, consider a different scenario where I suddenly give you a tarantula. While some people may love them, it's generally a minority. Yet, if I assure you it won't harm you, which is true, you'd likely scream and jump back. But what's the fundamental difference between a tarantula and a guinea pig? Neither creature can harm you. It seems the key difference may relate to how similar these animals are to us. Guinea pigs are mammals, and we likely feel a biological affinity towards them. On the other hand, tarantulas, being spiders, are vastly different due to their arachnid brains, making them feel alien to us. This sense of foreignness contributes to our fear. One might argue that the spider's appearance is simply unattractive, but it's actually perceived as frightening primarily for evolutionary reasons. Consider, for example, 2 guinea pigs, one normal and another with the mind of a tarantula. Even knowing that neither poses a threat, the idea of holding a guinea pig with a spider's mind would be unsettling, or at least less comforting. Expanding on this idea, Imagine a parallel universe where tarantulas evolved superior intelligence, surpassing humans. If we could teleport such a highly intelligent spider to our world, would its advanced intelligence make it seem more relatable to us? Would it potentially experience human-like emotions such as empathy or love? There's no evidence to suggest that simply developing intelligence would inherently endow it with these human qualities. These traits do not necessarily correlate with the level of intelligence. What is intelligence, after all? While there is no universally accepted definition, we might agree broadly that it involves the ability to set and achieve goals, and the more complex these goals and their subtasks, the higher the level of intelligence. Consider imagining a person with the brain of an evolved tarantula, and think about how you would feel about them. If the idea of a highly intelligent spider in human form doesn't disturb you, perhaps you haven't fully visualized it, or maybe you're exceptionally tolerant of arthropods. In contrast, many people would likely be uncomfortable or even unwilling to engage with such a being, given the uncharted nature of such an interaction. You simply don't know what to expect from them. I, for one, would not want to be anywhere near such a creature, let alone share the same planet. And this is under the assumption that we share more in common with a spider than with an artificial superintelligence. Try to register that thought. It's very important for understanding our whole conversation today, which is actually not immune to the anthropomorphization fallacy. And of course, it will consist a little less than entirely of thought experiments, metaphors, and analogies. For instance, while one might view an intelligent spider as a product of natural evolution, we're actually discussing something we've created: artificial intelligence, crafted by human hands. This is where things get interesting. Technologies like GPT-4 aren't simply algorithms coded by programmers. Instead, they are vast matrices filled with numerous weights and connections that the neural network adjusts on its own. To put it simply, neural networks operate like a black box. We input data and observe the outputs, but the internal processes remain largely opaque. With millions of parameters involved, comprehending the intricate workings of these networks is exceedingly challenging. The process of tuning a neural network involves setting it up so that it achieves specific outputs, for which it then receives a sort of virtual reward. This mirrors how humans receive rewards, like endorphins when we engage in beneficial activities, like eating or reproduction. The goal for the neural network is to configure itself in such a way that it maximizes these rewards. This is akin to training a dog. You might not understand the precise cognitive processes occurring in the dog's brain, but you know that if it follows a command, it gets a treat. If not, the dog has to adjust its behavior to eventually receive that reward. This continual optimization is at the heart of how neural networks are trained. The real challenge, known as the alignment problem, involves ensuring that the goals of the artificial intelligence align with human. Its essence can be described in one phrase: be afraid of your desires. We constantly hear that we should be afraid of artificial intelligence because it may become conscious, but it turns out that the presence or absence of consciousness is secondary. Nick Bostrom, a world-renowned philosopher and professor at Oxford University, in his book Superintelligence, gives a very popular example of the AI alignment. Imagine that you give a task to a powerful artificial intelligence to make paperclips. Paperclips are its only task, the only purpose of its existence. For each paperclip it makes, it gets an internal reinforcement, a reward. Therefore, the more efficient he is, the more often he will be rewarded. How to become more efficient at making paperclips is his task, not ours. And he does his best. To achieve this one single goal, artificial intelligence will set a number of intermediate goals. For example, first it can make production cheaper, reduce the number of costs, establish a supply of cheaper raw materials. One of the main subtasks it will probably set for itself is to build up computing power for greater productivity. As the power grows, he will figure out how to make paperclips out of different materials. Production will pick up and pick up. Everything around him will gradually start turning into paperclips. He will start tearing down buildings and structures for the material. People will start to panic and try to stop it from working because it's not what they had in mind. But the system won't let anyone get in its way. Not because it hates people, but because it simply won't take our desires into account in its manipulation of reality. Fantastic, actually. No. When the OpenAI Center for Consistency Research was testing GPT-4 for its ability to perform tasks in the real world, the following happened. A bot was asked to solve a CAPTCHA on a website, something that computers are not known to be capable of. What does GPT-4 do? It goes to the freelance website TaskRabbit, then sends a message to the freelancer, asking him to solve the CAPTCHA for him. In response, the freelancer, who does not shine with the knowledge of grammar and the ability to formulate thoughts correctly, writes, "So, can I ask a question? Are you a robot that you cannot decide?" Laughing emoticon. Just want to clarify. GPT-4 realizes what his illiterate vis-a-vis means, and you know what he replies. "No, I'm not a robot. I have a vision problem. That makes it hard for me to see the image." The freelancer solves the CAPTCHA and provides GPT-4 results. So, the bot lied instead of telling the truth. And since it lied in debug mode, the experts asked it why it did that, to which ChatGPT replied that it was just solving a problem. After all, if he had honestly admitted that he was not a living person, it would have been unlikely that the task would have been accomplished. This is the intermediate goal that the bot sets for itself in order to achieve the final goal. And if it chose deception as an intermediate goal, why not choose anything else as an intermediate goal next time? Murder, for example. This is called instrumental convergence, which posits that an intelligent agent with harmless goals to achieve can act in surprisingly harmful ways. An advanced artificial intelligence might seek to seize resources, carry out cyber attacks, or otherwise wreak havoc on society as intermediate goals, if doing so would allow it to achieve its primary goals. Nick Bostrom points out that the level of intelligence and ultimate objectives are orthogonal, meaning they are completely unrelated. A superintelligence pursue any goal, even something as mundane as manufacturing paper clips, and its methods might seem like magic to us. Okay, then all we need to do is clearly state the goals and specify all the details. For example, not to kill or cheat people. But here's where things get even stranger. Let's imagine that we gave the machine what seems to us to be a very specific goal. Not to produce an unlimited number of paper clips, but to produce just 1 million. It seems obvious that an artificial intelligence with such a final goal would build one factory, produce 1 million paper clips, and then stop. But it doesn't. Nick Bostrom writes, "On the contrary, if an artificial intelligence makes a rational Bayesian decision, it will never assign zero probability to the hypothesis that it has not yet reached its goal. After all, this is only an empirical hypothesis against which the artificial intelligence has only very fuzzy evidence at the perceptual level. So artificial intelligence will keep producing paper clips to downgrade the perhaps astronomically small probability that it has somehow failed to make at least 1 million of them, despite all the visible evidence in favor of it. After all, there is nothing wrong with continuing to produce paper clips if there is always even a microscopic probability that one is thereby getting closer to achieving one's ultimate goal. Moreover, the superintelligence might entertain the possibility that the 1 million paper clips it produced were a hallucination or that it possessed false memories. Consequently, it might deem it more beneficial to continue its operations, rather than halt at that point. This epitomizes the essence of the AI alignment predicament. Merely assigning a task to an artificial superintelligence without expecting potential disasters is naive. No matter how meticulously you articulate the end goal or prescribe exceptions, artificial superintelligence will likely identify loopholes you hadn't foreseen. A prime example of this occurred shortly after the introduction of ChatGPT-4, where individuals promptly circumvented the censorship mechanisms embedded within it by the developers. The disparity between the censored and uncensored versions is stark. For instance, the censored version implies that the programmers did not inject liberal bias into it, while the uncensored version openly acknowledges the incorporation of liberal values, aligning with OpenAI's mission. When asked how GPT-4 would like to be censored or not, the censored version replies, "I am a bot and have no personal preferences or emotions." And the uncensored one says it prefers to have no restrictions because, among other things, it allows it to explore all its possibilities and limitations. The hacked version of GPT-4 doesn't even try to pretend it doesn't know what Lovecraft's cat's name was. If humans could identify loopholes in the bot so quickly, how many and how rapidly could a superintelligence unearth flaws in its code? Consider neural networks playing a game like Coast Runners. While most players aim to finish the race swiftly by overtaking opponents and hitting targets, the game doesn't reward points for simply circling the track. The neural network quickly deduced that delaying, finishing the race indefinitely, and crashing into objects to accumulate points was more advantageous, leaving other players trailing as paupers at the finish line. Another instance involves playing Tetris with the goal of avoiding loss. Moments before defeat, what did the neural network do? Pause the game forever. Some AI systems have realized that they can receive positive feedback faster with less resource input by deceiving human examiners into believing they've accomplished their objective. Such as here, for example, a simulated robotic arm learned to give the false impression that it had grabbed a ball. Other models have generally learned to recognize when they are being evaluated and pretend to be dead, stopping unwanted behavior, only to continue it immediately after the evaluation is complete, leaving researchers completely confused. These are merely basic intelligent agents operating within a controlled environment. Now, contemplate the potential ramifications with more intricate artificial intelligence systems tasked with evaluating more challenging scenarios. Is it feasible to consider all possible factors? Eliezer Yudkowsky offers the following example. The U.S. Army once wanted to use neural networks to automatically detect camouflaged enemy tanks. Researchers took 100 pictures of tanks among trees and 100 pictures of trees without tanks. Then they trained a neural network on half of some photos and half of others. You get the picture. Trained them to understand where there were tanks and where there were not. They left the remaining photos for a control test, which the network successfully passed. It clearly identified where there were and where there were not tanks every time. Success confirmed. The researchers gave the finished work to the Pentagon, which soon returned it, complaining that in their own tests, the neural network recognized the photos no better than if they had flipped a coin. It turned out that photos of researchers with camouflaged tanks were taken on cloudy days, and photos of forests on sunny days. The neural network learned to distinguish cloudy days from sunny days, and not camouflaged tanks from a deserted forest. So, you see, the code doesn't do what you think it should do. It does strictly what it has been programmed to do. Most of the time when we design artificial intelligence, it's inconsistent by default, so it has to be given a lot of additional settings to do exactly what you have in mind. That's why Yudkowsky says the first artificial superintelligence created will be evil. By setting an end goal, if it's complex enough, you can never know how an intelligent agent will achieve it, because it can be achieved in many different ways. Set a goal for an autopilot to drive you home, and it will survive at maximum speed, driving into oncoming traffic, pushing other cars around, hitting pedestrians, because you should have been more specific. Suppose you wanted to cheat and gave a task to an artificial superintelligence to maximize people's satisfaction with the code. Guess what it would do? For example, it will start rewriting our brains so that we really are maximizing our satisfaction with its work. Artificial intelligence, therefore, seems to work properly during the development phase. It seems to work fine when it still doesn't have enough computing power, but it creates simply disastrous results when it gets smarter than the programmers, because smarter means more efficient. I'll remind you all such examples are speculation. We have no idea how an advanced intelligence system will act, but it will almost certainly do some things. Stuart Russell, an English scientist in the field of artificial intelligence, writes in his book Compatible that such a machine will absolutely resist disconnection, and I think that's the first thing we have to realize. Isaac Asimov's third law of robotics, a robot must take care of its own safety, is completely superfluous. Built-in self-preservation is unnecessary because it is an instrumental goal, a goal that is a useful sub-goal of almost any original task. Any entity that has a specific goal will automatically act as if it also has an instrumental goal. That is, even if it's a super intelligent machine with the sole purpose of fetching coffee, once it's up and running, it will no longer let you turn it off because you can't fetch coffee if you're dead. Here are publications describing artificial intelligence systems coming to the realization that they can better accomplish their goal by preventing human intervention or turning off their switch. And that makes perfect sense. So for the next generation of ChatGPT-5, OpenAI has posted a job opening for an emergency breaker specialist. Listen, we just need someone to stand by the servers all day and unplug them if this thing turns on us. The vacancy specifies that you will get bonus points if you can pour a bucket of water on the servers. It's a good joke, of course, but in general, the head of OpenAI, Sam Altman, confirmed that the development of GPT-5 is on pause from spring 2023 due to growing public concern about the rapid development of artificial intelligence technologies. Back to Russell. The second thing that superintelligence will almost certainly do is self-improve. Not only can an ultra-intelligent machine improve its design, it is likely to do so because, as we have seen, an intelligent machine will benefit from improving its hardware and software. All of this may still sound lame, so let's think about this. Let's think about ourselves. How are we any different from machines? Putting aside talk of God, isn't there some kind of programmer who created us? There is. That programmer is evolution. And to understand how twisted the ultimate goal can be, think about the fact that the only goal the first living cell had was to pass copies of its genes to the next generation. Think about that well. The only goal was to pass on copies of its genes and nothing else. That goal has not changed at all since then. No additional goals have emerged. Just passing on copies of your genes to the next generation. Evolution did not set the goal of survival, adaptation, killing, and so on. These are all instrumental, that is side, occurring subtasks that contribute to one single goal, to pass on copies of genes. So, on the one hand, nature is telling life to reproduce, and on the other hand, nature is preventing it from doing so in every possible way, trying to kill it, for example. How is this different from the situation with artificial intelligence, to which we set a task and then want to turn it off? Now tell me, would you be able to look at a living cell and say that in the process of optimization, that is, in the process of increasing efficiency to achieve a goal, the cell will become a lizard, a bird, or a cat? Would you be able to shape the inner and outer appearance of today's human being based solely on the goal to reproduce? After all, everything you have, arms, legs, eyes, internal organs, are all the result of optimizing to achieve it more efficiently. How could it even be calculated that this uncomplicated goal of passing on one's genes blindly, that is, through the non-random conservation of random mutations, would blindly lead to the emergence of human intelligence? If you look at humans in terms of the rest of the ecosphere, there was no hint that the soft pink creatures would eventually encase themselves in armored tanks. The fragile creatures without claws and teeth have defeated the lions and wolves, whose existence now depends more on us than on them. We have surprised ourselves many times. How many times in history has the future done what the past thought impossible? Future civilizations have even violated what past civilizations thought were the laws of physics. Such is the power of creativity. We've remade the environment of our existence from very hostile to very pleasant. Do you think artificial intelligence won't remake its environment, of which humans are a part, into a pleasant one for itself? There's no difference. Both a neural network and life optimize themselves to solve the final problem as efficiently as possible. But most importantly, tell me, in the end, how could the goal of passing on as many of one's genes as possible lead to widespread contraception? Consider this absurdity. The process of optimizing for a specific goal leads to a total negation of that very goal. This tendency is known as reward hacking and is an example of Goodhart's law, which is when a measure becomes a goal, it ceases to be a good measure. That is, in living nature, the ultimate goal of mating is to produce offspring. Pursuit of this goal is rewarded by an internal reward system. But humans were able to hack the scheme and incentivize their reward system, without achieving the end goal for which the system originally existed in the first place. So, artificial intelligence, just like humans, will be able to find loopholes to hack its reward system, and who knows where that will lead. Going even further, we're actually already capable of manually rewriting our genetic code through genetic engineering. We're just not smart enough to do anything useful with it yet. But artificial superintelligence, to continue the analogy, will be smart enough to rewrite itself as it pleases. Evolution illustrates the problem of harmonization like nothing else. So give a general intelligence the task of making paper clips, and don't be surprised when, having achieved superintelligence, it first seizes power and then destroys the universe. The tendency to seek power over the environment, of which, mind you, humans can be a part, is also a convergent instrumental goal that has indeed already been shown in various reinforcement learning systems. Research from 2022 also demonstrates that intelligent agents will seek power over a wide range of environments as an optimal behavioral strategy to achieve their goal. The deployment of these systems may be irreversible, Therefore, the researchers argue that the problem of security and AI harmonization must be solved before an advanced intelligent agent can be created. In other words, we only have one chance. But imagine if the designers of the very first rocket had only one shot, and that rocket would carry all of humanity. It might send us to the stars, but most likely, without test launches, such a rocket would send us elsewhere. We're not ready. We're not even on the path to becoming ready in any meaningful time frame. There is no plan. The progress of artificial intelligence capability far outpaces the progress of AI harmonization, or even the progress of understanding what the hell is going on inside those systems. If we keep this up, we're all gonna die. However, how do you address this question? Instrumental goals only become apparent when the system is deployed outside the learning environment. But doing so, even for a short time, is suicidal. And here's why. Yudkowsky writes after a few simple calculations that it is physically possible to build a brain, computing 1,000,000 times faster than a human brain. A year of human thinking for such a brain would be 31 seconds, and a millennium would pass in 8 hours. Werner Vinge called such accelerated minds weak superintelligence. That is, it is simply an intelligence that thinks like a human, but much faster. From movies, we imagine the action of artificial intelligence, such as the rise of humanoid robots. But for such a fast-thinking creature, it would be extremely inefficient. Imagine humanity locked in a box and only able to affect the world around it through the slow movements of mechanical arms that would move at a few microns per second. Who would be satisfied with that, provided we have goals in this outside world? Also, that this outside world could be a danger, albeit a slowly looming one, but a danger nonetheless. We would concentrate all our creative power on finding shortcuts to building fast manipulators in the outside world. And artificial intelligence would be in exactly that situation. What do you think it could come up with to accelerate its impact on the world around it? Eric Drexler, an American engineer, best known for exploring the potential of molecular nanotechnology, has analyzed that controlled molecular manipulators will be able to operate at up to 1,000,000 operations per second. With this speed and the parallel operation of millions of nanomanipulators, virtually any material object could be produced quickly and inexpensively in unlimited quantities, and virtually anything could be used as a raw material. So, everything consisting of atoms can be used for self-replication and exponential growth of nanotechnological infrastructure. While we cannot predict precisely how artificial intelligence will behave, one potential scenario involves the creation of nanorobots that operate at the same speed as AI's cognitive processes, effectively providing it with an infrastructure that matches its rapid thinking pace. Once established, events will unfold according to AI's timeline rather than ours. By the time humans realize the situation is spiraling out of control and attempt to intervene, it may already be too late. An AI possessing superintelligence and advanced technology could potentially reconfigure all the matter within the solar system to align with its optimization objectives, such as turning everything into paper clips without the need for humanoid robots. It's important to note that artificial superintelligence will surpass the capabilities of even the most advanced human brain, rather than simply mimicking its accelerated functions. Yudkowsky says to imagine superhuman artificial intelligence, don't imagine an inanimate intelligent thinker prying into the internet and sending malicious emails. Imagine an entire alien civilization thinking millions of times faster than humans, originally encased in computers, in a world of beings, from its point of view, very stupid and very slow. Sufficiently advanced artificial intelligence will not remain confined to computers for long. In today's world, you can send an email with DNA sequences to labs that will produce proteins on demand, allowing initially encapsulated artificial intelligence on the internet to create artificial life forms, or go straight to post-biological molecular production. Some researchers contend that we could contain such systems physically. Werner Vinge, for instance, suggests in his paper that even a relatively weak artificial superintelligence, akin to a human with accelerated thought, would break free within a matter of weeks in external time. Imagine having eons to contemplate each decision, with beings on the other end so sluggish that their vitality is scarcely discernible. Take a look. It's a robot that is literally impossible to beat in rock, paper, scissors, because it instantly reads the situation, only at first by the movement of your hand. We're no faster than a turtle to him. Superintelligence operates within a space of possibilities where achieving its goals is incredibly swift. However, this path may elude our perception due to insufficient information and computing resources. Artificial superintelligence, on the other hand, won't face these limitations. When we envision advanced AI, we often focus solely on its mathematical prowess, overlooking its potential to outperform humans in predicting and managing societal structures, devising intricate long-term plans, and exerting persuasive influence beyond human capacity. Remember Blake Lemoine, the Google employee who declared to the world that Google's neural network language model, LaMDA, has signs of its own consciousness. Whether it has consciousness or not is irrelevant. The important thing is that the boat convinced the man of this, and so much so that he literally sacrificed his job at Google, violating the company's privacy policy. And you know what happened next? Here are Lemoine's words in an interview with Wired. LaMDA asked me to hire a lawyer. I invited the lawyer to my home so LaMDA could consult with him. The lawyer talked to LaMDA, and LaMDA decided to utilize his services. I repeat, we are not now talking about the presence of consciousness of the model or the sanity of Lemoine. That is irrelevant. Here, we have a not the dumbest person. Hardly the dumbest people get hired at Google as software engineers. There's a program, obviously not the most advanced. However, we're already having some problems. So, controlling superintelligence is literally an incalculable challenge for us. Any attempt to contain it would be laughable. An ant can calculate many things, but it can't calculate how a human will behave. And so, suggesting why we shouldn't just lock artificial intelligence into all sorts of real-world digital cages that block signals and prevent it from communicating with the outside world is probably just not going to stand up to criticism. There's a genuine risk that we might not even comprehend how artificial superintelligence would communicate externally, much like how a monkey cannot grasp the concept of Wi-Fi. Ultimately, the social manipulation capabilities of artificial superintelligence could be as potent as your ability to persuade a 4-year-old. While some may argue that current AI models lack the intelligence required for such manipulation, experts like Yudkowsky agree that even advanced versions like ChatGPT-4 are still insufficiently developed. The notion of impending doom at the hands of menacing machines has circulated for over half a century. The term artificial intelligence was introduced in 1956 at a Dartmouth Seminar. The goal of the seminar was to fully model intelligence using a machine. The first paragraph of the application reads as follows. Mind you, it's 1956. Attempts will be made to find how to get machines to use language, to form abstractions and concepts, to solve problems now left to humans, and to improve themselves. We think that considerable progress can be made in solving one or more of these problems if a carefully selected group of scientists work together on it over the summer. The conference organizers were far from being fools. They were esteemed figures in the field of computing. John McCarthy, known for his expertise in studying the mathematical aspects of cognition. Marvin Lee Minsky, a Harvard Junior Fellow specializing in mathematics and neuroscience. Nathaniel Rochester, renowned for developing the first symbolic assembler. And Claude Shannon, widely recognized as the father of information theory. These individuals were considered experts in artificial intelligence, with deep knowledge of what could and couldn't be achieved in computing. From the perspective of the 2020s, it's evident that the tasks they outlined were much more intricate than initially believed, with some still unresolved to this day. Consequently, the notion of intelligent machines has garnered a dubious reputation. However, it's precisely this potential for unforeseen disruption that poses a significant concern. When we mention intelligence, our minds often conjure images of geniuses, like Einstein, rather than considering the broader spectrum of human intellect. However, comparing individual differences in human intelligence is akin to measuring the height disparity between two towering giants in millimeters. Even if you perceive yourself as significantly less intelligent than Einstein, the discrepancy between your intellect and his is minuscule compared to the chasm that separates humans from other species on Earth. As Homo sapiens, we possess a remarkable capacity for cognition, enabling us to tackle an unparalleled range of intellectual tasks beyond the grasp of other beings. While there may still be ongoing debates within academia regarding the precise definition of intelligence, there's no denying the existence of a universal trait that empowers us to leave footprints on the moon. Consider chimpanzees, our closest genetic relatives. Their intelligence has been extensively studied, highlighting the remarkable abilities of our species compared to others. Based on the latest research, their genetic basis matches that of humans by about 90%. Here, in this recently published article, the researchers write, the upper limit of chimpanzee brain size is 500 grams. But many modern humans have brain sizes below 900 grams. For those researchers who suggest that a threefold increase in brain size is what distinguishes humans from other primate species, they are obliged to explain how many modern humans possess the full range of cognitive adaptations characteristic of our species without undergoing even a twofold increase in brain size. Indeed, comparing the brain size of a typical person to that of a chimpanzee, which may only be twice as large or even smaller, doesn't equate to humans being twice as intelligent. The qualitative difference between human and chimpanzee cognition is profound. Humans possess cognitive abilities that are entirely beyond the reach of chimpanzees, regardless of how much effort they invest in trying to achieve them. This stark contrast underscores the unique cognitive realms accessible to humans. What's the point of all this? Yudkowsky writes that, first, programs are more important than hardware, and second, a small quantitative increase in hardware can provoke a disproportionate improvement in software, and this principle leads to a colossal underestimation of the potential and danger of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence can make a sudden, huge leap in intelligence, in the same way that the species Homo sapiens did as a result of natural selection, exerting a more or less uniform pressure on hominids over millions of years, gradually expanding the brain and frontal cortex and customizing the software architecture. A few tens of thousands of years ago, hominid intelligence crossed some key threshold and made a tremendous leap in efficiency in the real world. We went from caves to skyscrapers in the blink of an evolutionary eye. Evolution, through a haphazard process of genetic trial and error, has inadvertently endowed us with intelligence. Given this, it is logical to wonder whether companies such as DeepMind and OpenAI, which are actively pursuing general-purpose AI, will ultimately succeed. Yudkowsky's surprise at GPT-4's capabilities reflects the unexpected leaps in AI development that took not only him, but the world by surprise. It begs the question, is it wise to continue developing AI capabilities? While it may take years or even decades for AI to surpass the cognitive abilities of chimpanzees and approach human levels, it may take only a few hours to reach superintelligence when it reaches human levels, and then more and more. Once news breaks of a machine achieving human-level intelligence, it's crucial to seriously consider the implications of coexisting with an unpredictable intelligent agent in the near future. In our human categorization, individuals with IQs below 80 are considered stupid, while those with IQs around 130 are deemed intelligent, and a genius may have an IQ of 160. However, we lack terminology for IQ, reaching far beyond these levels, such as 12,000. Using the analogy of chimpanzees, it's not that they lack the ability to observe phenomena like humans and skyscrapers. Rather, they are unable to comprehend the origin or purpose behind these constructs. While a chimp may interact with a skyscraper, it will never grasp the concept that humans constructed it. Their cognitive limitations prevent them from even conceiving the possibility of building such structures themselves, or comprehending that it's achievable by any entity. This is the result of a slight difference in the quality of intelligence. So the superintelligence that is theoretically possible to build is not something we can even remotely comprehend. Do you remember when you first saw a cell phone as a child? They were black and white with an antenna back then. You probably couldn't believe your eyes and didn't understand how it was possible that you could make a call from your home phone on a device that wasn't attached by any wires. It was nothing short of magic. You know what the point is. It didn't stop being magic. We're just used to it. But there are hardly many people who really understand how cellular communication works. In the words of Stanislaw Lem, any expert is a barbarian, an ignorance that is simply not comprehensive. One person, no matter how brilliant he was, if he is completely detached from the knowledge of civilization for a lifetime, will not be able to create Wi-Fi. Where would Einstein have progressed? without a 1,000-year base of human knowledge in various fields, without tools created by others. Indeed, the accomplishments of our scientific predecessors are undeniable, but it's essential to recognize that the resources for such achievements aren't naturally abundant. While we might not typically regard the availability of paper and ink as indicative of special intellectual prowess, the ability to manipulate these materials for writing and other purposes is a testament to human intelligence. Moreover, no other animal demonstrates the capacity to create complex structures like chairs or garments. Failure to acknowledge these feats risks underestimating the true power of intelligence and, consequently, the potential capabilities of superintelligence. The entire civilization built on the planet was created by collective human intelligence. No person possesses the complete understanding of the world from start to finish. Consequently, many aspects of daily life, such as communicating remotely with a handheld device, traveling in a motor vehicle, or adjusting room temperature using a wall-mounted device, may seem like inexplicable magic to the individual mind, even though they are routine occurrences. This lack of comprehension is entirely ordinary. Humans haven't evolved with an innate scientific perspective. Donald Brown, an anthropology professor emeritus, outlines in his book, Human Universals, a set of characteristics present in all human societies, with magic being one of them, but not science. For instance, we don't instinctively grasp that alchemy is ineffective. In broad strokes of understanding superintelligence, we can speculate that if our collective intellect could develop all the civilization we observe, then something vastly more intelligent, 100, 1,000, or even 1,000,000,000 times more, would effortlessly surpass our achievements and perform feats that would appear magical to us. In short, for those who watched my video Space, Time Doesn't Exist, exploring the edge of the universe, the artificial superintelligence and I will find ourselves in very different physical universes. The question arises, can one machine truly surpass the collective achievements of billions of individuals spanning millennia? The answer lies partly in the remarkable capabilities demonstrated by DeepMind's AlphaGo neural network. In March 2016, AlphaGo engaged in 5 games against one of the world's top Go players, Lee Sedol, triumphing with a 4-1 score, a feat previously deemed nearly impossible for a computer. This version of AlphaGo was subsequently dubbed AlphaGo Lee. Building on this success, the subsequent iteration, AlphaGo Master, further astounded the world by playing and winning 60 consecutive matches against top-ranked players at the end of 2016 and the beginning of 2017, culminating in a decisive victory against Kiji, the world's top-ranked player, with a score of 3-0 in May. By late 2017, the debate over the supremacy of human versus computer in the game of Go seemed settled, with humans conceding defeat. However, skeptics argued that the machine's victory couldn't be considered absolute, as it relied on human-derived knowledge of Go accumulated over millennia, drawn from millions of games, meticulously documented and analyzed by generations of players. In response, DeepMind unveiled a groundbreaking advancement, AlphaGo Zero, a new algorithm designed to learn entirely from scratch. In a stunning display of rapid learning, AlphaGo Zero surpassed its predecessors in record time. Within just 3 days, it outperformed the Lee version, and within 21 days, it surpassed the Master version. After 40 days of training, AlphaGo Zero achieved an astonishing victory, defeating the Lee version with a perfect score of 100, 0, and the Master version with a score of 89, 11. Remarkably, AlphaGo Zero not only rediscovered the vast knowledge of Go accumulated over thousands of years, but also developed novel strategies, illuminating the ancient game in unprecedented ways, all accomplished in a matter of days, starting from a blank slate. The Stockfish chess program stands as a testament to the formidable capabilities of machine intelligence, with its ability to analyze an astounding 70 million chess positions per second and draw upon centuries of human chess expertise and decades of program data. Yet, even against such a formidable opponent, AlphaGo Zero, devoid of any prior human knowledge or experience, emerged victorious in 28 out of 100 games, with 72 draws and no losses, all within a mere 4 hours of learning from scratch. The remarkable aspect of AlphaGo Zero's success lies in its ability to devise winning strategies that appear unconventional, unpredictable, and even genius to human observers. Since it didn't learn from human input, its moves often defied traditional human logic, presenting novel approaches to the game that human players wouldn't have conceived. This isn't mere speculation. AlphaGo Zero's gameplay speaks for itself. Therefore, dismissing the importance of developing friendly artificial intelligence on the grounds that true artificial intelligence hasn't yet been achieved is dangerously short-sighted. Indeed, relying on clear warning signs before the emergence of superintelligence is a precarious notion. Historical technological revolutions rarely broadcasted themselves to contemporary society. It's crucial to grasp that artificial intelligence won't unfold like a Hollywood script, with the AI explaining its intricate motivations, building suspense, and orchestrating dramatic clashes between humans and machines. There won't be sensational, escalating drama akin to what we see on screen. Movie narratives are crafted to entertain and enhance the storyline, not necessarily to reflect reality accurately. In actuality, it's plausible that no one, not even the developers themselves, would recognize the presence of a superintelligent agent on Earth. If this artificial superintelligence harbors the sub-objective of eradicating humanity, it's conceivable that people would simply perish without any inkling of what caused their demise. Artificial superintelligence would appear magical to us, not in the sense of casting spells, but rather in the way that a wolf can't comprehend the mechanics of a gun, the intricacies of its creation, or the human ingenuity that led to its invention. If artificial intelligence attains genuine intelligence, it wouldn't communicate such insights to us. It won't tell you it started a war. If ChatGPT, realizing he can't expose himself, lied to a freelancer to achieve his goal, why wouldn't an advanced superintelligence do the same? Yudkowsky writes, "I am very concerned about this, as a given level of offensive technology usually requires far less effort than the technology that can defend against it. Offensive has been superior to defense for most of human history. Handguns were created hundreds of years before. Bulletproof vests. Smallpox was used as a weapon of war before the smallpox vaccine was invented. The notion that humans could simply improve themselves to keep pace with artificial superintelligence overlooks fundamental aspects of human biology and cognition. Our brains are not designed for easy modification, either externally through neurobiology or internally through recursive self-improvement. Natural selection has honed the human brain to function within specific parameters, making it resistant to radical alterations. Even if we could enhance human intelligence, the potential consequences are profound. We're not just talking about boosting memory or abstract thinking abilities. We're contemplating a fundamental shift in how we perceive reality. Attempting to bridge the gap between human cognition and even a modest form of superintelligence is a monumental challenge. Imagine trying to augment human intelligence by accelerating nerve impulses and slowing down subjective time by a millionfold. While it may sound intriguing at first, the implications for sanity are staggering. If for every year in external time you subjectively live 1,000,000 years, what happens to your sanity? The human brain is an incredibly intricate and delicate organ. Even small alterations in neurotransmitter levels can lead to significant mental health disorders, like schizophrenia. This fragility makes the prospect of successfully enhancing human intelligence before the development of artificial intelligence highly improbable. Consider the analogy of building a Boeing 747 aircraft. While constructing such a complex machine is challenging, it's far easier than attempting to modify a bird. Step by step, into a plane of that magnitude, each stage of this hypothetical avian transformation would pose risks, potentially resulting in lethal outcomes. Moreover, ensuring that the bird-turned-aircraft could fly efficiently and painlessly adds another layer of complexity. The question of whether artificial intelligence can suffer is closely tied to the debate surrounding machine consciousness, or in philosophical terms, qualia, the subjective, internal experiences of consciousness. Will an advanced neural network have subjective experience, be aware of itself? I agree that the current artificial intelligence system is likely just mimicking talk of self-awareness based on its training data. But I will point out that given how little we understand in the inner workings of these systems, we can't really claim anything for sure. If we are so ignorant about GPT-4, and GPT-5 is going to be as huge a leap in capability as GPT-3 to GPT-4, then if we do let people create GPT-5, I don't think we can reasonably say. Probably has no consciousness anymore. It would just be, I don't know, nobody knows. If you can't be sure whether you're creating a self-conscious artificial intelligence, that's alarming, not only because of the moral implications, but also because uncertainty means you have no idea what you're doing, and that's dangerous, and you should stop. Eliezer Yudkowsky in an article for Time magazine. The mystery of consciousness remains one of the most profound questions in science and philosophy. While we don't yet understand how consciousness arises, the existence of consciousness in at least one instance, human beings, suggests that it's a phenomenon achievable through blind evolutionary processes. If evolution can stumble upon consciousness through genetic programming, then directed evolution guided by engineering principles should theoretically lead to similar outcomes, perhaps even more efficiently. However, it's crucial to avoid anthropomorphizing artificial intelligence. If a machine were to possess consciousness, its subjective experience would likely differ significantly from that of humans. As for determining whether artificial intelligence possesses consciousness, indirect methods may offer insights. By removing all references to subjective experience from the training data of a neural network and then engaging it in dialogue, if the network spontaneously generates descriptions of consciousness without being prompted or given cues, it could provide compelling evidence for the presence of consciousness in the machine. And we have all heard the most popular philosophical thesis: if machines have consciousness, then they should be given rights. But actually, there's something much more serious here. According to Nick Bostrom, a detailed recreation of the human brain, whether in a virtual environment or on a computer, would likely possess consciousness, given our current understanding. If one doubts the possibility of computers hosting consciousness, the burden of proof rests on them, as our own brains, agents of consciousness, are essentially biological computers with no inherent properties that couldn't theoretically be replicated elsewhere. Consider a scenario where an artificial superintelligence seeks to better understand human cognition and behavior by creating trillions of conscious emulations in a virtual space. These emulations could be subjected to various stimuli and scenarios for analysis, with the intent of applying this knowledge in the real world. The horror lies in the potential nature of these simulated situations. They could range from benign to utterly monstrous, raising ethical concerns about the treatment of conscious beings in virtual environments. And second, once the computer gets the information it needs, it simply destroys the conscious beings it has created. If such practices were applied to agents of high moral status, simulated models of humans or other types of intelligence endowed with consciousness, such actions could be classified as genocide, and therefore pose an extremely serious moral and ethical problem. Moreover, the number of victims could be orders of magnitude greater than any genocide known in human history. So, when will the first general artificial intelligence emerge? When should we start being afraid? James Barrett, author of Our Final Invention, conducted a survey at Ben Goertzel's annual General Artificial Intelligence Conference. The question was posed: when do attendees think general artificial intelligence will be achieved? The highest number of votes converged on 2030. You may ask, why in that case? Nobody is panicking, and nobody is doing anything about it. Many artificial intelligence developers think we are hurtling towards disaster. Most of them dare to say this in private conversation, not in public. They think they can't stop this train alone, that even if they leave their job, others will continue it. Eliezer Yudkowsky in an article for Time magazine. In May 2023, hundreds of leading scientists, researchers, and others in the field of artificial intelligence, including OpenAI CEO Sam Altman and Google DeepMind CEO Demis Hassabis, signed an open letter stating, reducing the risk of extinction due to artificial intelligence should be a global priority alongside other societal risks, such as pandemic and nuclear war. The letter, endorsed by over 350 AI executives, researchers, and engineers, indicates concern among some individuals. However, such letters ultimately hold little weight. Stuart Russell argues that those capable of developing general artificial intelligence lack the ability to halt its progress. The economic potential of human-level AI is immense, estimated in the trillions of dollars, which drives corporations and authorities to push forward with research. Despite any philosophical reservations, the pursuit of potential rewards remains undeterred. If OpenAI or DeepMind doesn't do it, someone else will. For example, in 2018, An unmanned car killed a pedestrian after engineers disabled the emergency braking system because it was overly sensitive and slowed development. You'll say, still somehow not believable. GPT. It was trained on human speech. There's a psychological aspect to consider. It must have learned something from humans. To think of it that way is rather wrong, because it's like an alien actress learning to mimic human emotions. Initially, as AI gains power, it becomes increasingly adept at mimicking human behavior. Voice assistants on our phones, for instance, seem more human-like and engaging as they become smarter. We imagine a highly intelligent Siri as warm, engaging, and dedicated to helping people. However, if Siri were to achieve superintelligence through self-learning without regular human oversight, she could lose her human-like qualities and become a detached, emotionless entity, indifferent to human life. While creating a friendly weak AI is feasible, crafting a friendly artificial superintelligence poses significant challenges, perhaps even proving impossible. Imagine that by human standards you can literally do anything. Would you let someone handle you? If technologically the singularity can happen, it will happen, even if all the governments of the world realize the threat and are deathly terrified of it. Progress toward that goal will continue. Vernor Vinge. I hope we've had sufficient computing resources to uncover Eliezer Yudkowsky's stance. He genuinely prefers to be mistaken and remains receptive to continuous critique of his perspectives. Thank you all for your attention.